Let's not go back 20, let's go back 35 years. Let's go back to the early 80s when this place was dead. I mean, we had an economy that was not diverse, really oil and gas centric.
We had a group of aerospace executives into metropolitan Denver in 1987. Said, what do you think about Denver? And the guy from Hughes Aircraft said, well, he said, you're a district town, and everybody has to have a business in a district town. He said, but nobody wants their headquarters here. You have to prove to us that you can do the big stuff. And the first big piece was the convention center. It becomes one of the best convention centers in the country. To this day, it's still beautiful, and it helps when you have the blue bear standing out there peeping in the window. And now we're going to go out and build the largest high-weather airport in the country, and that was GIA. That was something that said, this is who we are. The next piece, of course, became the stadiums.
Those are bold, bold moves that now it's easy to look back on those and think how brilliant we were, but it took a lot of courage. It took a lot of foresight and a lot of perseverance. When I think back on what we did right, we're all part of a region, and we compete as a region and as a state, but we're also competing in a global market.
With what we have done here, we have become a headquarters town, and we brought 2 Fortune 500 companies from someplace else to Denver, Aero Electronics and DeVito.
You can start with Google,
Fidelity,
Charles Schwab,
Teramo,
Panasonic.
Panasonic's about a $70 billion global company. My division looked at 22 cities. So we did an evaluation from Charlotte, North Carolina, all the way to Salt Lake City, from like Detroit down to Austin, and ended up on 2 cities, Dallas and Denver. And then based on working with the people and the opportunities that we saw in terms of our Smart City initiative, we selected Denver. Denver itself as a city, as an entity, as a showcase, sort of a shining beacon for folks to look at on how you do it right.
And I said, that's the reason why we've been successful. As a community, we have chosen to do the hard things. And great things are never easy. Well, what we have imagined and built is not just one great city. We have built an incredibly wonderful metropolitan region.
You know, if we talk about regionalism, one example that I like to think of is back in 2004, when we came together and approved fast tracks. I could list probably 20 different buildings around Union Station, which is the epicenter of the $7 billion fast tracks system. And look at the investment now going out on Brighton Boulevard and the Rhino District. None of those things are mistakes.
It doesn't happen by accident. They happen with careful thought, careful planning, and investment. As a construction industry and as a part of the business community, we just have to be a strong and constant voice as these opportunities arise, so that we're heard, and we're heard in a thoughtful way.
Now we're going to be on a broader stage. We're going to be on the state of Colorado stage, working with the governor and with other elected leaders to get our next big challenge done. At a very emotional level, we get to put the finishing touch on this region that we call home. I mean, when you look at Union Station, when you look at DIA, you look at all those places, that's what we do.
But we build those buildings for grandchildren. We do that because you're people at my age and you want your grandchildren to be around you and your children to not have to leave this community.
You know, it's an interesting time for Colorado, for the Denver metro region, because we have had so much success. We're on the map.
Ultimately, we must remember that what we build is who we are.
That's what we do. All of you in this audience, you built that. It is what we do. Build Colorado, it's who we are.